Hey, I'm Julie Fei-Fan Balzer, and I am here with the super talented Carolyn Dube, who also has an amazing YouTube channel. Now, Carolyn, you post a ton of videos on your YouTube channel, a lot of them about gelatin printing.
Yes. Yes. I love playing with that thing.
So you are, I believe, is it like a certified gel press instructor, or you're a very fancy official gel press person?
I'm not officially certified in anything. I've just been playing with it so long. I guess I'm kind of grandfathered in on that stuff.
Mhm. So what's your favorite, like, what is the thing that really made you fall in love with that gelatin plate?
Boy, you're gonna ask this. You can start with a deep question here. Um, it's really that it's never the same because I have a problem getting bored. Um,
Me
and if I
too.
can only use something one way, if it can only get one look, I I just don't play with it that long. And there are plenty of art supplies that I bought over the years that have one use. Paper punches. I'm looking at you. And I just they're just much more fixed in how I can use those as opposed to like a gel plate because I can use it with so many of my other supplies. I can use it in so many, and it's never the same. So I've never gotten bored with it. And it's one of the very, very few art supplies that hasn't gone through phases. There's somewhere like you use them for a while, and then you set them aside and you bring them back
Mhm.
out. And gel plates are one of those things that just has never done that. It's always been something different. There's always another technique, another way to use them. Like no matter how many times you use it, it's kind of like a paintbrush. Like it doesn't matter how much you use one, there's always another way to use it. So
Yeah.
that's really what I love about it.
I think so. Like, I remember I always say about the gelatin plate that, like, it's accessible enough that someone can use it for the first time and be successful and have like a lot of things, make a lot of things that they like, but it's also sophisticated enough that you could spend years like trying things, experimenting, trying to master, not quite getting it. Like, so it is both shallow and deep at the same time. So it's great for such a wide range of people. And I mean, I know that I just got finished teaching this huge gelatin printing class. So it's like more than 200 videos and all this stuff. And I still feel like there's stuff that I didn't cover in that class, even though I feel like I covered literally anything I could think of, but it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's even shallow or deep depending on what day we want to have. Because some days I really want to be like, really thoughtful and careful, and other days like I just need 5 minutes of play. Like just give me 5 minutes of moving color around. So yeah, you're right.
Now,
It is.
you,
It's very
you
versatile.
even have a video, I think, about printing with an Oreo.
Oh yeah. Oh, anything is fair game. Like toilet paper, Oreos. It's another thing that I really like. 'Cause you can use officially fancy things on it, but you can also use whatever is within arm's reach, whatever you've got. I mean, like, I don't even get me started on deodorant cap covers. Oh, like I get so excited, like, oh, I used up the deodorant. It's time to get more because it's this great little oval, and it comes like with its own handle. Like it's just, it doesn't get better.
Now you have a beautiful art studio.
Thank you.
Pardon me, I can see it in the behind you. Now I know that you've obviously thought about how to put together your art studio so that the flow works for you and all that kind of stuff. What is your sort of, do you have like a philosophy behind how you designed your space to work for you?
So in terms of the actual structure of the room, that was just part of how the house was built. Like then it was just work with what you've got. But for me, it's if I can't see it, I won't use it. And I'm a gatherer, not a hunter. So well, like some people like I need a blue something this big. I'm like, I just need to scrounge through stuff. Like let me look through a pile. And so I need things to be in piles, but also I don't have a 30,000 square foot warehouse. So that means there's got to be a way to organize the piles. So like behind me over there, I've got baker's rack. So I can just pull off the trays, use them and put them back. So I can have a whole bunch of stuff open and workable, but not actually cluttering every surface. Because sometimes you need some space, just like when you're printing, when you're doing like I'm experimenting, I need space. So I need it to be easy to clean up, easy to see, and easy to put away. Because I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Like cleaning brings me very little joy.
Oh my gosh, I hate cleaning. Yes.
So it's got to be fast. So like when people say, "How do you clean your gel plate?" I'm like, no. I don't. How do you clean your brushes? I let them soak for 3 days, and then they're really easy to clean. Um, so really, for me, it's about it being accessible. Like the shoe organizer that's behind me, that just holds a whole bunch of gel printing tools, and it'll rotate through out of the drawers. Like I'll rotate stuff because I'm like a 2-year old. Like if I haven't seen it in a while, I forget it exists. You bring it back out and you rotate this. Like okay, this is exciting. And so that's really how I've done things. So piles of stuff neatly tucked away that I can easily grab out in a basket, on a tray, spread out on the table, and then easily put it away to start the next thing.
And it looks like you have a standing height table and a sitting height table. Do you alternate between the two?
Yes. Depending on the mood. Like I generally prefer to stand. Like right now I'm standing because I feel more creative when I'm standing. But some days it's just been a long dang day.
Yes.
It's just like, so I like having, or if I've got friends over, they don't all like to stand. So to have those options, and they're just IKEA tables. So if I change my mind, oh, that's another thing too that as I'm doing the studio, is I like everything to be changeable. So if it's on wheels, I can change the height because I change my mind so often, or I want something in a different place, that things that are actually fixed are very difficult for me to commit to. Unless it, like the sink, that had to be fixed, like that doesn't move. But if there's a way to put it on wheels, if there's a way to make it adjustable, I am there.
I'm a big fan of a flexible space too. I think that because our interests change and our needs change, and just like you were saying, you might have a friend over or some friends, or I have visions of someday when COVID is gone of teaching classes in my studio. You want that space that has the flexibility to kind of be a lot of things. I mean, I still work on a cheap folding table, which is why you'll see my camera wiggling because that's just, it's flexible. It's easy. I can fold it up and get rid of it when I need to. And I know that when I've had some furniture pieces that were more permanent, it does get kind of like, oh, this has to be here. Why does this have to be here?
And I also find, like, if I'm using either repurposed stuff or inexpensive IKEA stuff, it's not precious. And I don't
Mhm.
care if I spill a little paint on it, but if I've spent a fortune on some fancy something, you naturally want to take more care of it. And that
Yeah.
gets in the way of the play. And I'm like, okay, so I prefer cheaper tables, repurpose those from a used restaurant supply place. That way, there's just no pressure because it's you. Basically, you won't find fine furniture in my studio.
Yeah, and that's a theory that I have too about like I know this sounds crazy. So I originally wanted to put like vinyl flooring into my studio when we were redoing the attic up here to be my space. And the contractor said that he actually recommended wood floors because he said, I know. And
Wood?
so I was like, what? And he's like, listen, the cost of like nice vinyl flooring versus like a sort of prefab wood floors is not that far off right now. And then he said, and the issue is once you get paint and stuff all over the vinyl floors, they have to get tossed. Once you get paint and stuff all over the wood floors, you just sand them and finish them and you're done. So he was like, in terms of longevity, it's actually a money saver as opposed to upfront being cheaper. And I was kind of like, oh, that's really interesting. So now I have wood floors with paint all over them and I feel okay about it because I know that someday, should this ever not be an art studio, I can just refinish the floors and be done.
You're absolutely. When we built this place, we did the vinyl flooring everywhere,
Mhm.
and I knew that I was kissing off all the flooring upstairs. Like that was just a part of the cost. Like
Yeah.
it'll have to be replaced unless the next person really likes paint. Like
Stick
that.
a
That was
key
just
in.
cost because there isn't a save it later, and I'm not going to scrub it with. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's
So
just not worth it. Although my 2-year-old does come up here and see paint on the floor because we're not allowed to spill paint anywhere else, obviously. And he's very upset and he tries to scrub it out of the floor. And I'm like, I'm always trying to explain that it's okay to spill paint on this floor, but not like for him to dump paint on this floor. It's a complicated subtlety that I don't think we're quite getting to yet. But someday. So I know that you put together a fantastic class for the Artful Holiday. And I know that because I've watched your video and I, in fact, have made something inspired by it. So I'm super excited. Do you want to tell people a little bit where your inspiration came from?
I love gel printing. You make lots of prints, and so many times people think that you need this big magical print to use it, and really you don't. Sometimes there are just little pieces and parts, scraps. You can use those. And then the other thing too is I don't like to throw away those little scraps. So I have a whole bunch of cut up pieces because I just can't part with them.
Wait,
And
what's your
so
scrap storage system? Do you have one? No, we're gonna get to see it. Oh, I like
Oh,
it.
you
It's a
mentioned that.
pile.
I've got, and then smaller pieces go in baskets, but the
Mhm.
bigger ones go there because once they're cut up, they're hard to stack, and
Yes.
so it's a free for all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
larger ones, and then smaller ones go in baskets. But yeah, and then people say, "What do I do with my gel prints? How do I use them?" I'm like, "Oh, it's like saying, how do you use paper? Like, what do you want to do with it?" And when you invited me in to be a part of this, it was just such perfect timing because I'm like, I need to get ahead on my Christmas stuff. I need to do this, and I've just had the most fun. This has so motivated me to get on top of things, and this was something I kept meaning to do. I'm like, yes, I finally got to it. But I love things that sparkle. I love things with color, and I love it when things are adaptable. So they're going to see me make very vibrant trees with lots of sparkle. But if somebody likes more of the earth tones, it's all adaptable. You just change it to whatever color you want. And now I'm doing trees because I have vowed that this year I'm getting ahead on the holidays. I am not going to scramble at the last minute. And I did trees, but you can use any shape with it. It works with anything you're willing to cut a shape of. So whatever holiday, whatever event, whatever that kind of stuff. For those that don't celebrate Christmas, um, you can do anything with it. So I'm really excited about it. But it's got sparkle, it's got shine, and it's got lots of color.
Yeah, well, the thing I like so much about the technique is that it's applicable to so many other things. So I actually took your ideas and I made myself some earrings, which I absolutely love, which are sparkly and fabulous and totally lightweight because they're paper scraps, right? So I think like this is the thing that I love about this class, and I just love in general that I think is so important to impress upon people, which is when you see a project that somebody makes. Yes, it's the project, and yes, it's fabulous, and yes, it's nice to see it, and yes, it's great to make that. But there are so many ideas. I mean, like within your class alone, right? There's ideas about like how to use, certain adhesives, how to cut shapes and templates for yourself, how to apply, sparkly foil, how to like contain your glitter and glitter mess, how to create glitter mixes, how to like, you know, how to rip paper to have a certain like you literally in this one project are teaching so many different techniques that you could take any one or combination of several of those techniques to make a lot of different projects. And I think that the the thing that I always tell beginners is yes, make projects just like someone else. That's great. But as soon as you start to understand what you like and what you don't, steal the techniques. That's the gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's brilliant the way you are doing the mashup to show people how to take pieces and parts of two and create something new, something that is completely their own.
Yeah, I know that that is something that you're really good at too in your own work all the time of taking like, hey, I showed you guys this technique before. Now we're going to use it this way. That things are like, they're not isolated, right? They kind of, everything rolls together.
Well, and one of the things too that really helps with that is, getting the technique is one thing. Um, but it's understanding why. Like
Yes.
why when you know the why, it's so much easier to apply somewhere else. So, and that just applies to just about everything. Because it's not guessing, it's not, but the why is this happening?
Mhm.
And when you know that, you can then tweak it. I think of it as in terms of cooking. Like if you ever watched grandparents cook, like they don't use a recipe, they know how to make a gravy, they know how to make, they don't need it. Whereas like when I'm starting, I'm like, how much flour? What should this look like? And it becomes much more rigid. Theirs usually taste better because they know how to adjust and adapt because they understand how the ingredients play. And that's what I try to do with my lesson is trying to explain all the different aspects so that someone can very comfortably do it with whatever art supplies. They don't have to have exactly what I have. Just substitute with what you got.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. It's the magical refrigerator meal, as they say, where you open the fridge, you see what you got, and you make it work, right?
Yep.
So, Carolyn, I know that you just got back from a trip out of town, and you've been doing some teaching and traveling, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah. Not as much thanks to that whole COVID thing,
Yeah,
but a
I
little bit more.
know. I miss in-person teaching. It's nice to see human beings, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
So, did you collect any ideas on your travels? I always find that that stimulates my imagination.
So, yes, and I don't know how it's gonna play out yet, but we were really lucky. So when we went to Bermuda, And when we arrived, they said, "Hey, heads up, Portuguese man of wars have kind of taken over the island." And that I'm like, "Oh, that was on the National Geographic special of the scary ones." Uh-oh.
Don't go in the water.
Pretty much. And so, but we ended up at one oops after another. Apparently, I can't read maps, and Google Maps didn't help. So we ended up at this little beach. And thankfully, we didn't have any real problem with them until the last day. And I was like, I'll be honest, I was disappointed. I'm like, man, I want to swim with some man of wars. Like, come on. Because when do you get to say this, right? Like,
What do you
um,
say? I got stung at in
well,
Bermuda.
no, I don't like that part of it. I want to Disneyfy everything and have the fun with no risk. And so we're out there, and luckily we did get to see one. And of course, I went to get the picture, and my kids were just my adult children, like, "Mom, get back here! No!" And they were freaking out. And I'm like, "Oh, look, it's small. And it was a little baby one, and you could see the tentacles, but it had the most rich purple hues in it. The color was unbelievable. I mean, I just could not stop looking at meanwhile, the kids are, yanking at me, "Get back." And I was like, but the tentacles they were like 3 feet long, and I was more than 3 feet away. And it was just the most beautiful color, the way it was prismatic through the light, because they actually float on top of the water, and it's like this clear
Mm,
balloon. But it was almost like a bubble, the way you get those light reflections off of a soap bubble kind of thing.
mhm.
And it was just bobbing along with these beautiful tendrils. And I say that because it didn't sting me, but it was just beautiful to watch, and I cannot get that purple and those long stringy things out of my head whatsoever. And so, yeah, that was really the thing. I just keep thinking, "Huh." And I'm not a big purple fan. I don't use a
Mhm,
lot of it,
mhm,
and I just keep feeling pulled to purple. So I may find
mhm.
myself playing with that color more just after the Man of
Yeah.
War.
I'm not a big purple fan either, but I now live in a purple house. Things happen. Things happen. But what I was going to say is the thing that I love that you said at the beginning of the inspiration part is you said, I'm not sure what this is going to do, but this is something that struck me. And I think that's the thing about inspiration is that it isn't a straight line. It isn't like I see this, I draw this, and now you can see that I was inspired by that, right? Inspiration is more about like the experiences that you're having, the collective feelings in the air, like all that kind of stuff. And then something comes out and you sort of realize later that you were influenced by it. And I think it's one of the reasons that it is so important to travel. It is so important to like go places. It is so important to get out of our houses, because inspiration is out there, even if it's not a direct line. I know that I have found myself doing so much more nature stuff in the last like 2 years. And I think it's because the places I've been going have been like, we go out to the park, we go on long walks, we go out here. And so, like, without even realizing it, like, that is what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing like urban architecture. I'm not seeing like, museums and restaurants and all that kind of stuff. So it's a different vibe.
Yes, and the best inspiration to me comes when you're not expecting it. When you're
Yes.
just in the moment and things just connect up. You start to go, "Oh, that to that." Showers are great because your mind is just shut off from all the normal thinking, and I get a ton of ideas there too. But yeah, it's where you least expect it. You find some of the most interesting things.
Well, I can't wait for people to see your class because I know that they're absolutely going to love it. You are day 2 of the Artful Holiday, so people don't even have to wait that long.
All
The Artful
right.
Holiday class starts on August 1st, and you can see Carolyn's class there. And if people want to connect with you, see your awesome YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff, how can they do that?
You can find me at acolorfuljourney.com, or you just put in the name Carolyn Dube and I should pop up on YouTube or Instagram, that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carolyn. And you can find the Artful Holiday at balzerdesigns.com. We hope to see you in class. Thanks so much. Bye.